Chapter 21. The War Room and the Wise King. Outside time. Location: War Room, Heaven's Realm, 7th Dimension. "Greetings, Captain," said Lord Salanea, bowing low as the beloved entered the war room. "General Michael and the others from the War Council will be joining us momentarily. I trust your mission on Adama was productive?" "Indeed it was," answered the beloved. He unlatched the heavy gilded double-edged sword from his waist and placed it on a hook on the wall of remembrance. The Lord of Hosts continued, "And a bit of fun too. Even in the most dire of circumstances, it was good using the sword of truth again." "Aye, nothing can separate the loyal from the rebel like the sword of truth," agreed Lord Salanea. "Oh, I'd wish you had been there to see him in action," said General Michael as he entered the room behind the beloved. He, too, placed his sword on the wall and took his seat next to the Lord of Hosts. When Captain struck the rebel tower, lightning flashed from the east to the west. "Don't forget about the thunder," said the one mind, taking his place next to the beloved around the circular table. "The thunder was glorious." "You should have seen those rebels flee when the Father thundered," said Indigo, laughing. The first of the 7 spirits took a seat at the table. The tower cracked and... "Don't forget the earthquake," said the blue spirit, slapping his leg. "I wouldn't be surprised if that shifted the landmass a bit." "Indeed it will," said the one mind. "They needed a good shifting. Let us build a tower to heaven. We will never be scattered again. Just getting a bit too big for their own britches, I say." "I agree wholeheartedly," said the beloved. "But the one mind is being more than humble today. It was his actions that have brilliantly restored the sequence of Purpose 1208 on Adama. Separating the speech by fire was perfect justice, said the Ancient One, suddenly appearing at his seat at the head of the table. For it was their tongue that erred, and thus their tongue was judged. "Hear, hear," said the War Council in unison. Now that Lord Salanea, General Michael, and the remaining 7 spirits were seated before the one mind, the beloved 12 was complete. The meeting was called to order. "As you are all aware," said the beloved, opening the meeting, "we have gathered to discuss the ongoing resolution of Adama and the reintegration of the sons of Adam into Heaven's realm." "Has the failed check already been enacted?" asked the violet spirit. It surely has," answered Lord Salanea, pulling up I-1704 for all to view. "We see here that the beloved filed the reconciliation execution order prior to Adam's transgression. Proper notice was given to all parties involved in the incident, and we see here now the repercussions of said incident are being witnessed by the 3rd objective party and representative from Adama. We see him now, yes, the one called Enoch, at his desk, noting all anomalies and verifying the fairness of all interventions on behalf of Adam." The beloved allowed Lord Salanea to update the council on the intricacies of the restoration of Adama for quite some time, until General Michael brought up the subject of war. "And just what would justify a physical confrontation from the hosts?" asked the great general. "Are we to let that Satan continue to wreak havoc without recourse?" "Heaven forbid," said the beloved. "But free will must be honored at all costs. "That could be problematic," said the crimson spirit. "The wicked one's cunning and depravity knows no bounds." "And the humans are naive at best and weak at their worst," said the beloved knowingly. "Which leads us to the main purpose of this meeting. The one mind is ready to activate the seed and the code in Adama, which will appropriately provide assistance to the humans who adhere to it. In other words, General Michael, the code will outline how sons of Adam can request assistance from the armies of the host." This satisfied the general. "So, at this time, I will turn this meeting over to the one mind, who will share the plan in detail." Immediately, the one mind burst into action. Flames filled the room as he expounded on the nature of the seed to come, his dual identity, and the prophecies leading to his arrival. Meanwhile, the dispersal of the nations of Adama would protect those carrying fullness of time. And when the one mind revealed the beloved's plan to write code inside the code, the council was astounded. "So do you mean to say each person will fulfill the code inside the code without any knowledge that they have done so?" asked General Michael. "Precisely," said the beloved. It's brilliant, declared the Crimson Spirit. Thank you, said the Beloved. General Michael was almost speechless. So you're telling us that the plan is essentially foolproof. Each marker or person's part in the plan is determined in advance by their sequence in the plan. But the person for part of the plan of their own free will because of their inherent nature. Yet, a person cannot fail the plan because they don't even know the plan or of their own role in it. Unless, said the Beloved, they discover how to interpret the code. If a person understands how to interpret the code, they could discover the... Oh my, exclaimed the Violet Spirit, but then the plan could fall into the wrong hands. If that Satan gets access to the plan inside the code, he could destroy each person's destiny. Exactly, said the Beloved, smiling. But here is the beauty of the code. It is locked. Okay, said the Hidden Father. Might as well tell them, you know these word number games of yours are no fun unless someone else knows how to play. The one mind is the key, said the Beloved. No man will be able to interpret this code without access to the one mind. And the only way to access the one mind, said Lord Salanea, is through obedience to access the one mind, said Lord Salanea, is through obedience to the Ancient One and the Beloved. No rebel could ever know or understand the code, added General Michael. Indeed, said the one mind, his own rebellion would lock him out. The general chuckled. I get it now. A rebel could read the code, study the code. The general laughed so hard he snorted. It really is foolproof. It even says it in the code right here. Only the fool says in his heart there is no God. But because he is a fool, he could read this and still not believe it. Unfortunately, General Michael had the kind of laugh that made everyone laugh. Soon there wasn't a straight pond, Beloved, said the one mind, after the council finally settled down. Now that the council is one on this matter, we will begin the preparations to distribute the code and activate the seed. We have already identified the next one chosen to carry the seed. Have you confirmed young Peleg then? Asked the Beloved. Indeed, the seed. Have you confirmed young Peleg then? Asked the Beloved. Indeed, said the one mind. His actions at the tower confirmed his role. He hears and obeys my voice well. Agreed, said the Hidden Father. Only the obedient will carry the seed. Additionally, said the one mind, the confusion of speech will ice particular to leave clues for the seed to find in the code. So, how many tongues have the tribes now? Asked Lord Salanea. They have 70, said the Beloved, which also coincides to their nations and the prophecies that complete the restoration. Oh, of course, said Lord Salanea, a perfect number. I should have known. I'll have the archives and the code updated to reflect a recurrence of 70 in Purpose 1208. Excellent, said the Beloved. Are there any more questions? A few members of the War Council had questions for the One Mind about the code. He answered them, revealing even more fascinating aspects of the book and the heroes that would emerge from it. Finally, all hearts were full. Then the Violet Spirit said it best, Selah. After a long pause, the members began exiting the chamber. Beloved, it was so good to see you in action again, said Lord Salanea as he pulled the Lord of Hosts to the side. Would you like me to armor shined and mounted for the next time? Nah, said the Beloved. I had so much fun, I think I will keep it on for a while. The Beloved left the council meeting and was headed straight for the Department of Progressions. He wanted to check in on Enoch before going over to the courthouse to hear cases until dinner at low light. Normally, he would just appear wherever needed, but today he decided to walk. The Beloved walked through his favorite season, spring in the third dimension. His slow pace up the stone path and the gentle breeze blowing across the hills and through the flowering treetops reminded him of his walks with Adam. The Beloved sighed. Just then he loving to walk and longing to talk too. The Beloved stopped and thought for a moment. Why not? It was so much fun the last time. The Beloved grinned from ear to ear. Immediately he sent his armor to Lord Salanea for polishing, with the thought that it should be so. The elder and assistant to the Beloved would find it waiting in his office. The elder and assistant to the Beloved would find it waiting in his office when he arrived for duty. Then, as he remembered the robes of the wise old king, they appeared and fell around his form perfectly. The Beloved turned around slowly, and the full dark beard and long hair of a respected father appeared. Finally, the beloved for his arrival. Then he continued walking down the path, whistling a little tune as he strolled along. Peleg's time, location, city of Salem, Canaan land, first dimension. Peleg trudged back up the path to the seventh hills to the city of Seth. He still liked using the old names his father Eber had taught him, even though it was called Salem now. Again, he found himself walking alone and hoping and praying. He did much more of that these days. The voice always burned within him, it seemed. Peleg went past the old sign swinging at the city gate. Salem, city of peace. But the P was missing, so the peace was broken. He laughed at the unintended pun. Ah, it is just as well, Peleg muttered. He was getting used to things changing. The marketplace was far different than it was during his last visit. Just a few carts laden about the city that had been so busy before. Many of the shops were boarded up, and Peleg couldn't help but listen to the confusion that was so common now. Two men sat facing each other, one chattering and the other chittering over crumpled papyrus, using hand signals to trade. Nes tu senderat one? Ich tein gut ant machen at, the other replied, shaking his head. Neither had a clue as to what the other was saying. After several frustrating minutes of trying to understand each other, they simply gave up. Finally, the first man picked up a jar full of produce and handed it to the second man. The second man seemed confused, but then decided to just give the other fellow something off his cart. He handed him a bundle of cloth. The first man was still confused, but he accepted the bundle, smiled, and walked towards a group of people heading out the city gate. He waved farewell to the man and joined the caravan. The people riding on them and walking alongside spoke with excitement. They all spoke the same thing. Peleg smiled. He was happy for them. Peleg yearned for the same thing. He hoped he would find it here, near the home of Father Shem. Surely King Melchizedek will speak the same tongue as me. He just has. Surely King Melchizedek will speak the same tongue as me. He just has to. Peleg kicked the rocks to ease his frustration. I have not had anyone to speak with since the incident at the tower. He wanted to share all that had happened with someone. He couldn't even speak with his own father anymore. When he and Joktan found Father Eber after the tower, Father Eber was so devastated that Joktan's speech had changed. He became depressed and spoke very little. Within a few days, Joktan decided to leave with Anisi's family and head east. One evening, Joktan gathered his portion of the flocks and his possessions, gave him and Father Eber a teary farewell, and then left at the break of dawn to join his new bride and her family. Apparently, Anisi's mother made the arrangements for the couple to wed. After Elder Sheba's death in the tower, she was elated to find a young man who could speak their language to provide for her daughter. That's when Peleg decided to visit Melchizedek. The wise king would know what to do. Peleg looked up and burst into a grin. There was the old king standing outside the gate at the top of the hill. Peleg started running and laughing. He ran faster and faster until finally he ran straight into King Melchizedek's outstretched so long. You know it is rude to keep an old man waiting. Father Shem, cried Peleg. You can speak. I mean, I can understand you. Oh, said Peleg. The tears held back for so many days finally flowed freely. I am so glad to see you. And I you, said King Melchizedek, giving him a big hug. Well, don't just stand there. Come in, come in. He took Peleg's sack and walked with him into the house on the hill. I have had the cocoa simmering all morning, just waiting for your arrival. You have good news, I take it. Peleg was glad that Father Shem was just as excited as he was. Indeed, said Peleg. I heard the voice, just like you said I would. Go on, said King Melchizedek, taking his place at the low table. Peleg sat down next to him, picked up a steaming mug of the rich, sweet drink. You will never believe what happened. As Peleg and the old king talked for hours and hours, the great King Melchizedek was very much interested in hearing all the details of his time in Babel and what became of the tower. And Melchizedek told him a great many things too. He gave advice as to what he should do next, and assured him that he would someday find others who spoke as he did, and a good wife as well. He encouraged him to keep listening to the voice, for he said the voice would always guide him in the right direction. Help was always just a prayer away. Peleg would have talked longer too, but his eyelids grew heavy. Sleep wrapped itself around him like a warm, familiar blanket. He felt someone guide him over to a pallet near the fire and tuck him in as if he was that 8-year-old who first came to visit so many years ago. Finally, Peleg slept, dreaming of flashing light and fire that walked to and fro the room. When outside the window, Peleg sat up and took a look around. The fire still had a couple of logs burning on it. "This is a fine morning," said Peleg as he stood up to stretch. He was in the habit of talking to himself now. Somehow hearing himself say something good always made him feel better. Peleg quickly tidied up the room and put some eggs over the fire to cook. He then set a couple of loaves of bread near the fire to warm. "I'll have breakfast ready for Melchizedek in no time." Sure enough, just as Peleg was loading the hot food onto plates, the door swung open and in stepped the old king. "Who's there?" said Melchizedek, placing a hand over his eyes to shield the sun's bright rays. He entered the room. "What is the meaning of this?" he asked sternly. He rose up to his full height and continued gruffly, "I am in the custom of showing hospitality to strangers, but it is proper to wait outside until invited." "But Father Shem, he, Peleg." "Peleg?" repeated Father Shem. "Yes," answered Peleg. "Don't you remember me? You met me at the gate and invited me in yourself. You even had the cocoa ready and we talked all night." Father Shem shook his head. "No, my son," he said adamantly. "You are mistaken. I have been away communing with Father Noah all this past year. I left only a couple of servants nearby in the village to keep the house in my absence." "I am not mistaken," said Peleg. "I came and talked to you. You told me about our entire family, about Father Noah and the flood, about you 3 sons and the terrible secret. You even told me to listen for the voice. You told me to destroy the image in the tower. I did talk to you. It had to be." "Ah," said Father Shem, interrupting the young man. "I think I know what happened now. Describe the man you spoke with." "He was you. I mean he is you," Peleg stammered while he thought about it. Father Shem smiled and asked, "Did he call himself Melchizedek?" Peleg was surprised. "Yes, he said his name was Melchizedek, and I called him Father Shem too." "I think you met another one," said Father Shem. "Sit down, my son," said Father Shem. Peleg obeyed. "I believe you met the Melchizedek. He often comes to meet those who have won a great battle." "You are blessed indeed," said Father Shem, "for you have met our king and priest, the Lord God himself, and lived." "Blessed be the God of Peleg, God himself, and lived." "Blessed be the God of Peleg, may he reign forever." "Blessed be his name indeed," exclaimed Peleg. "Do you know what this means, young Peleg?" asked Father Shem. "No," said Peleg. "It means you have been confirmed as the chosen son," said Father Shem. "Your name will be on our stone tables, for you have a role to play." "Why, that is exactly what he told me last time," said Peleg. He went on to tell Father Shem all that the Melchizedek had spoken. "You know, it's funny," said Father Shem. "Your destiny was always hidden inside your name. Peleg means division. God has used you to make a division between the holy and the unclean, and will continue to do so." The wise father continued, "While your brother Joktan's name means less significant. The Lord will bless him too, but he has made a distinction between the two of you. There is no doubt about it now. You are the bearer. There is no doubt about it now. You are the bearer of the seed. Value this honor above all, for the Lord God honors those who honor him. Teach your children to do the same, and you will be blessed indeed." "That is exactly what the Melchizedek said," Peleg replied. "Well, this has turned out to be, and most opportune too. This good news calls for a sacrifice and a feast." "Indeed," said Peleg. "Shall I prepare the altar and the fire?" That would be most helpful, young Peleg, said Father Shem. I will bring the sacrifice. Are you going to kill the fatted calf? Asked Peleg with excitement. After the sacrifice, eat the rest, and Peleg was starving. No, my son, said Father Shem. The chosen son must always offer a lamb without blemish. Never forget that. Peleg promised the wise father he wouldn't. They sat together and talked a good long time after the sacrifice was made. Finally, Father Shem brought out his stone tables. Peleg smiled as they began reading the tales of old from the very beginning. Peleg pulled out his tool and started to etch the symbols needed to add his name and his adventure in Babel to the stone tables. He paused before making a mark. The fire burned within him. The voice spoke. Father Shem nodded. I hear the voice too, my son. He placed a hand over Peleg's. Your tale is not for the stone tables, said Father Shem, although your name will be noted. Indeed, said Peleg with a mysterious smile. This tale is better passed along